Most people think they own Bitcoin, but they don't. They just have a number on a screen. And I know that sentence might sound extreme, but this is exactly where almost everyone goes wrong when they approach Bitcoin. Because buying Bitcoin isn't enough. If you don't control the keys yourself, you don't control the Bitcoin. So in this video, I want to explain one fundamental thing to you. All the most important features of Bitcoin, all the freedom, all the security, all the independence you've heard about. They're only real if you truly own Bitcoin. And truly owning Bitcoin means one very simple thing. The wallet is yours, the keys is yours, the responsibility is yours. If instead you leave everything on an exchange, a bank, or a platform that holds it for you, you're just exposing yourself to Bitcoin's price. You might profit if it goes up, but you're not living what Bitcoin really is. There's a phrase that's been around in the Bitcoin world for years. Not your keys, not your coins. And it's not some fanatic slogan. It's a practical definition of ownership. If another entity controls the private keys, then that entity truly controls access to the funds. You might have the account, the password, see the balance, but the real control isn't yours. This is the difference between having exposure to Bitcoin and owning Bitcoin, and it's a huge difference. Because Bitcoin was designed precisely to allow a person to hold value without depending on an intermediary. So if you buy Bitcoin but then leave it in someone else's custody, you're giving up the most revolutionary part of the system. Today, tons of entities let you buy Bitcoin easily. Exchanges, banks, apps, investment platforms. And it's normal that at first someone feels attracted to this convenience, because it's easier to click buy than to study how a wallet works. The problem is that convenience often gets mistaken for ownership, and they're not the same thing. When you leave your Bitcoin with a custodian, you're saying, I prefer someone else to have control instead of me. It might seem simpler at first, but that's not where you get Bitcoin's real benefits. Because Bitcoin's real benefits aren't just maybe it goes up in price. The real benefits are that you can hold value independently, outside the traditional logic of mandatory trust in third parties. And here's where the discussion gets deeper. Because Bitcoin isn't just a speculative asset. It's not just a chart that goes up and down. Bitcoin is a different paradigm, a different way to think about money, savings, value, individual responsibility. We grew up in a system where money is controlled from above, a system where inflation erodes purchasing power, where politics influences the currency, and where almost everything goes through intermediaries we have to use. Bitcoin breaks this pattern, but it really breaks it only when you use it the right way. That's why I always say that Bitcoin's nature is fully valid only when you have the keys. Otherwise, you're touching Bitcoin, but from afar. You're watching the phenomenon without really entering it. And here we reach the point many people don't want to hear. Want Bitcoin's freedom? You have to accept Bitcoin's responsibility, because self-custody is this, freedom, yes, but at the cost of total responsibility. And for many, this is exactly the obstacle. Not the price, not the technology itself, but the fact that there's no one to offload the burden to. In the traditional system, we're used to having a point of contact. A bank, support, an entity that, at least in theory, can intervene. Bitcoin puts you in front of a completely different choice. No one forces you to use it, but if you really want to use it, you have to be the responsible one. And paradoxically, it's precisely this entry barrier that, once overcome, becomes one of the strongest reasons to stay for many. Because that competence, that awareness, that ability to custody your value alone, once acquired, no one can take it away. When someone enters the Bitcoin world, one of the first fears is this: how do I avoid getting scammed? And the real answer, even if it's not the most comfortable one, is by studying. Because the best way to avoid scams isn't finding the right guru, isn't finding the expert person who tells you what to click, isn't letting yourself be guided on the phone while doing a delicate operation. The best way to avoid scams is to understand the why of things. Understand what you're doing. Understand what you're signing. Understand why a procedure exists. If you don't understand, you're vulnerable. If you understand, you become much harder to manipulate. This applies in finance in general, but in Bitcoin it applies even more because here the custody responsibility can fall entirely on you. And that's exactly why I think a person shouldn't approach Bitcoin with greed or haste, because haste and greed are the perfect ground for making mistakes. Much better to take it one step at a time. First study, then do tests, then start getting comfortable with wallets, procedures, and checks. And only after, if anything, start transferring larger amounts. At first, it can even make sense to do tests with small amounts, just to understand the mechanisms. Because the goal isn't buy quickly. The goal is to become a person capable of custodying well. We need to be very clear here. Buying a hardware wallet doesn't mean you're automatically safe. The hardware wallet is a super important tool because it keeps the keys isolated and allows signing transactions in a safer environment than a computer or smartphone exposed to malware. That's why it's one of the central tools in serious self-custody. But it's not magic. It's not a talisman. If you hand over the seed to someone, fall for phishing, approve a transaction without checking the address and amount well on the device, the problem isn't the wallet, it's the lack of awareness. This is the point almost no one explains enough. Custody isn't a product, it's a skill. Doing self-custody means building a personal little bank. And no, not in a poetic sense, in a practical sense. It means creating layers of security. Right device, correct backups, healthy procedures, checks, attention, habits, experience. It means knowing that it's not enough to turn on a hardware wallet, follow 2 screens and start sending Bitcoin there every month for years. Because the risk is ending up one day with increasingly large amounts custodied lightly, without ever really understanding the system you're using. And that's how many people mess up. Not out of malice, not out of stupidity, but because they confuse apparent simplicity with real security. At first, almost everyone looks at Bitcoin as an investment. And that's normal. You enter because you want to protect your purchasing power, or because you think Bitcoin can appreciate in the long term. This is often the first level of understanding. But if you go deeper, you understand that Bitcoin can become much more. It can become a store of value that changes your relationship with money. And when you really start to trust its functioning, its logic, its scarcity, and its structure, then the way you look at it changes. You no longer see it just as something to resell one day at a higher price. You start to see it as a base. And this brings us to another passage that's super important to me. Bitcoin wasn't born just as a store of value, it was born as money to exchange value peer-to-peer. That's why I believe it makes sense to talk about Bitcoin as living currency too. Not just to hold, but also to use when possible between people who recognize its value. There are already larger communities trying to foster circular Bitcoin economies, like those around Lugano and other ecosystems, where the concrete use of sats between merchants and users is part of the project. But in my opinion, the strongest point isn't even the big cities or big announcements. The strongest point is micro-communities. The ones you can create, with your barber, with a professional, with a friend, with your partner, with a business you frequent often. When you introduce Bitcoin to those close to you, when you exchange value in Bitcoin with real people, when you stop seeing it just as a ticker and start using it as a shared economic language, then something very powerful happens. Bitcoin enters real life. And no, this doesn't mean you have to live 100% in Bitcoin from tomorrow. It means starting to see that a real alternative exists. A concrete possibility, available today without needing anyone's permission, and that's huge. Because we often talk about mass adoption as if we have to wait for entire states to do something. But actually, the first level of adoption that really matters is another. It's you who understands Bitcoin, custodies it well, saves in it, and maybe starts using it with those around you. That's how a real community is born. Not from propaganda, not from slogans, but from people who concretely choose to give value to Bitcoin. If you've understood this, then you've understood something else. Bitcoin is a system completely different from what we're used to. It's not centralized, it's not static, it's not a system where there's someone at the top who just decides. Bitcoin is a dynamic equilibrium, a distributed system in motion where incentives matter a lot and where power isn't organized the way we're used to imagining it. And that's also why at first it can seem difficult, because we've been educated to think in a centralized way. We're used to asking who's in charge, who controls, who intervenes, who solves. Bitcoin instead forces you to reason differently. It forces you to understand a system that doesn't live because someone governs it from above, but because many actors interact within shared rules. From my point of view, the benefit of all this is immense. But the cost exists, and it's real. The cost is the initial uncertainty. The cost is study. The cost is practice. The cost is learning to move in a system that doesn't infantilize you, but makes you responsible. And that's exactly why not everyone's ready. Because Bitcoin doesn't coddle you. Bitcoin doesn't artificially simplify everything. Bitcoin leaves you free, but freedom weighs. So I want to leave you with a very simple concept. If you don't have the keys, you don't really own Bitcoin. You have price exposure, you have a service, you have an intermediary, but you don't have full control. And if you really want to understand Bitcoin, buying it isn't enough. You have to learn to hold it. You have to learn custody. You have to understand seeds, wallets, backups, procedures, devices, and security. The next video series, Bitcoin Self-Custody, will focus on holding Bitcoin the right way, taking full ownership of our money. Disclaimer and transparency. The script is original and handwritten by me. The digital avatar is my personal creation. My content is not financial advice nor investment solicitation. Study and always do your own research before investing.